England against Scotland game. England eventually ran out 61-21 winners, but as I've alluded to in previous videos, there is something very interesting about the first 3 tries they scored, so that's what I'm going to show you today. So welcome to this video. There's 3 clips because I know you guys like that where I show you the clip. If you've got any other ideas about how you'd like me to structure the videos, any ideas for future videos, please comment down below. But yeah, on with the video.
From the line out, the English spread the ball to the left. Alex Dunbar allowed Jonathan Joseph run past him and clear. Stuart Hogg couldn't get across on time. It was the perfect start for Eddie Jones' men. Owen Farrell was past fit to play, having missed training during the week. He put the conversion over for an early 7-0 lead.
So here in this first image we can see there are quite a lot of lines across the picture, but the blue line is from a previous video about George Ford. That's under the Pro and Focus section. But if you look here, look how many options Ben Youngs has. So there's a flanker, I think it's Hamish Watson, it looks like from the photo. Owen Farrell is cutting directly across him, so he can't get out and support. And Jack Nowell has been able to track around. This is because of the easiness of this, is because he has tucked Ali Price around on the wrong side of the scrum, because they're down to 14 men, the Scots. So Ali Price has to guard that blind side, and because the scrum has turned in England's favour, Jack Nowell can just exploit that open side because he's quicker than Ali Price, and also Ben Youngs makes the first positive movement, so it's not on him to start the movement. Then the second interesting point is because Farrell has taken Hamish Watson out, Finn Russell is rocked back because he has to cover those runs towards it. The inside centre is caught in a bit of no man's land because he's not actually targeted by anyone. There's 2 players running at the outside centre, but no one is running at the inside centre, making him practically useless. So because they're running at the inside shoulder and the outside shoulder, the outside centre, I think it's Hugh Jones in this case, is actually caught in a bit of decision making problems, because if he goes to the outside man, they can just give it to Jonathan Joseph, and if he goes to the inside man, it can go to George Ford, and then they've got a 2-on-1, and there's another winger out there who's not shown in the image. But that it helps being a man up, but the amount of options they have and the wraparound by Jack Nowell and then George Ford later on really stresses the options.
2 more penalties from Farrell left it at 13 points to 0 before England struck in devastating style to notch their second try and put real daylight between themselves and the Scots. Farrell to Ford and on to Joseph, who darted away for his, and England.
So in this second image here we can see the same thing. It's off the scrum, but this time you'll notice, if you look in the top left, England aren't attacking against 14 men like they were in the first image, but they've still got those options because Jack Nowell is still coming round. The replacement scrum half is still caught on that blind side, and there's the flankers unable to get across. The Scottish line is in disjointment, and Owen Farrell now has the ball and is just received it. They've got George Ford, they've got, I think it's Benteo, or I think, yeah, it's either Benteo, I believe Ilipole is just hitting those between Finn Russell and his, I think it must be a back rower there. And it just means that everyone in that Scottish defence is fixed, meaning the English backs can just attack and find the holes, and it eventually leads to them scoring the try when Jonathan Joseph breaks, because there's 2 people drawn in, because Jack Nowell is also wrapping round, and I think Mike Brown is further back in the image. So sorry about I think that, and I don't know because I'm looking at a still frame here, and I'm not looking at the full video because I've already seen it and got the image from that. But Ben Youngs has given the pass to Farrell, and he's got so many options. It just makes it a lot easier, especially when there's so many small gaps that runners like Jonathan Joseph and Jack Noel can exploit.
7 before a third try, just short of half-time, put England comfortably ahead. Joseph again displaying wonderful running skills, and with Bath teammate Anthony Watson on his shoulder in support, it was another try. Watson had come on as an early replacement for the injured Daly. This was a real blow for Scotland, coming shortly before half-time. Farrell converted. It was 30 points to 7 at the interval.
Again, this play is coming off a line out. They've got the big ball carrier heading back into the pack, and it means if you look at the image, there's the forward coming across from the line out, and also the fly half is leading his line up. But as you can see, they're both focusing really on that inside runner, whereas the fly half should trust his inside man and start pushing out. And it means if you look wider, when Anthony Watson runs his follow line, which is that green line leading from the guy behind Owen Farrell, when he leads that line round, he can just link up with Jack Noel, and it just becomes a 3-on-2. And because there's Owen Farrell is also looping round the back of this defender, the flat pass from George Ford enables Owen Farrell to target that man, put Jonathan Joseph through the gap, and the Scots player is kept in no man's land, meaning it's an easy try for Anthony Watson later on in the move. But if you look how flat George Ford is playing to that line, you're actually exploiting more space. And because he started the same depth away from the Scots as they have to him, I think it's 5 metres, so it's about 10 metres from the Scots. No, 20 metres from the Scots. He's got a lot of space to just exploit. And this means that he can just attack that space, and it brings momentum into the attack instantly. Whereas if what you're taught as a junior, you should always receive the ball running, and that's because you draw in defenders, one, and it just makes your attack flow better, because if you've got no momentum, then you can't, it somehow becomes it's harder to pass, and you have to judge the lines of people better. You don't want to just stand still and pass, you want to put that extra bit of momentum into the move, and therefore draw in more defenders and actually make it easier for the other players on your team. So to sum up, in that final image we saw how England were able to just tear the Scots apart with their runners, but the main thing I'd like to point out is how close the England fly half got to the line, because although it increases the risk of an interception, if you can get your passing flat enough and quick enough to beat a defender, that shouldn't really be a problem. Obviously, you might get one or two, but even if you've got one quick player in your side, then you can just chase back and tackle. And it's just so unlucky to get an interception, because if you're attacking them, they're going to be worried about you stepping them if they go for the interception, or even worse, dummying them, because you've got that advantage in your head over the defender that you could dummy, go through their hole, and then pass again, because you're already coming at them with pace, and that means they've got to rock back so they can look at the field and look where you're most likely, and it gives you that extra half a second to pick your pass, and then it improves the chance of the move outside. And also, where the winger is coming around on that loop, it just increases the numbers. But finally, guys, all rights were reserved by the RBS Six Nations and NatWest, I think it is now, for the video. So yeah, go and watch their channel, because it's really good if you want to just analyse stuff and look at stuff. On the screen about now, there should be a link to a previous video I did on George Ford, and also a video that YouTube recommends for you. So go ahead and check those out if you want, guys, but enjoy the rest of your day.